Hey everyone, Felipe here. Welcome to another Tower of Saviors GNN review video. This week is the last week of the One Punch Man and Tower of Saviors collaboration, which means that for next week we are back to our own original Tower of Saviors content. So what we have today is going to be Ultimate Descent. Seems like we have Freezing Heat Cynthia and new item collecting missions, especially for the Halloween season. So without further ado, let's get started and take a look at this week's GNN news. So, what we have today, Freezing Heat Cynthia Ultimate Trial and Halloween Party Invitation. Seems like it's going to be a pretty quick GNN this week, so let's see what we have. We have an Ultimate stage, which is going to be for Cynthia, I believe, since she is going to be the character that's on the cover of this week's news. Subordinate of Marcus, the current ruler of the second vampire family, Cynthia will set up a new ultimate stage on Tuesday, 25th of October. She has one out of two skills. Oh, so you choose one skill out of two skills, and you can only activate one, and the cooldown will reset no matter which one you choose. She has a CD6 active skill, and you can choose two skills. The first one being turn water and fire runes into enchanted water. Freeze all enemies for 2 rounds to alter their attributes into water. Deal a water damage of 500 times the character's attack basic value each round. And for 2 rounds, water runes can be dissolved singly by aligning. Water runes can be dissolved by aligning 2 or more in the first batch. Actually, this is honestly not a bad skill. Especially at CD6, this is going to be a pretty fast freeze. And in my opinion, status effects, they have been increasingly more popular, especially as Madhead releases enemies that require you to inflict a certain status on them. And for example, we have Caesar that has access to all statuses in his passive skill, makes him really useful for these types of shields. Or for Cynthia, freezing shield is going to be pretty good because CD6 is pretty fast. She is a water human, which means that she has access to the human dragon wares that reduce their cooldown by 1 after you enter the stage, so you can activate this skill even quicker. Um, she's water human. Wait, but she's a vampire. Oh no, she's just a subordinate of a vampire. That makes sense. Okay. I was like, I thought she was a demon for a second there. But yeah, she is going to be a water human with a pretty short skill cooldown. Um, the turning water and fire into enchanted water runes is going to be pretty good for damage output. And the fact that you can dissolve water runes by aligning 2 or more is going to give you more combo and better time spinning. So all these things together make this skill actually pretty good. You also have access to a snipe, which again, I will repeat myself every time I see a snipe. Snipes are basically pretty much useless unless you encounter a stealth shield. No matter how much multiplier you give them, the amount of HP that enemies have basically means that sniper skills don't really do anything because yeah, it's just like very insignificant compared to the HP bars of the enemies that we encounter nowadays. Because of that, yeah, snipes are nice, but the fact that it comes as an added bonus to this skill is honestly not bad. You can also dissolve stealth shields with this active skill. And as the meta develops and we need more cards that consolidate utility into one place, Cynthia is going to be a good candidate for future member in water teams because like she can not only snipe but also freeze enemies and give you a tool dissolve, which is pretty useful. And not to mention she has another skill that we will take a look at right now. For the second skill, we basically have oh ooh okay, that makes sense. Oh, that's exciting. So basically, we have the opposite of the last skill, where instead of turning water and fire into enchanted water, now you turn them into enchanted fire. And instead of freeze, you ignite them for 2 rounds. And fire's runes can be dissolved by aligning 2 or more of them in the first batch. And honestly, this is quite nice. Again, same reasoning as the previous skill. You get all the benefits except that you are igniting and dissolving fire runes instead. So you do have the flexibility of putting her in teams that require water runes or require fire runes. The second one is a little bit more situational, and I like this design honestly because she is like freezing heat. Her whole ultimate stage is called Flames and Ice, or Dominator of Flames and Ice. The fact that she can control both water and fire makes a lot of sense for her skills. The only thing is that with game mechanics, uh, as a water card, you don't really encounter her in many fire teams. You don't see a lot of water fire teams. The last one that we really had was Tanjiro, because you could add Tanjiro and Nezuko together, and also Hinokami Kagura also relied on fire runes to launch attacks. So that being said, Cynthia is an amazing member for Tanjiro because she can not only generate fire runes, or she can also generate water runes. But the only thing is that Tanjiro hasn't seen much play recently. But that being said, if there's another member or another leader that can make use of both water and fire runes, she will be really good. Or if there's a fire leader that can slot in water members, she will also be really good for that leader. But that being said, usually mono fire teams will not have a spot for her because she is a water human, uh, for obvious reasons. But but yeah, honestly, the fact that you can choose two of them, honestly, it's kind of a shame that TOS doesn't have dual attribute cards. I know it will potentially make the game super broken if we did, but it would be a nice niche. Say, for example, you had this skill, but you could change her into fire, like before entering the stage or something. Not necessarily like Puzzles and Dragons, where cards have two attributes all the time, but maybe have, since she is the dominator of fire and ice, maybe give her the ability to switch attributes in your inventory. That might be an idea. But honestly, still a pretty nice card in my opinion. A really good member card, a lot of role consolidation here, which means that as team slots get more valuable, she will be more useful for your teams as well. The only thing is that she doesn't have much more utility other than freeze and snipe. 2 dissolve will increase your damage, but other than that, you're not breaking any like annoying shields. Maybe the 30 water shield or 30 fire shield will help, but yeah, definitely a good skill, especially because it's so fast at CD6. Yeah, let's move on to the next item collecting mission, the Halloween Party Invitation, which is going to be the new, is it guild event? Let's see. No, you're collecting pumpkins. Like, so this is reminiscent to the skewer event that we had with the summer collection series, um, where it's not really a guild event. This is just you consuming stamina, and for each point of stamina, you're getting one pumpkin, and you can use those pumpkins to obtain different rewards, such as the new characters, um, spirit orbs, attributive orb, and cosmic cubes. So let's see. The new character that you can trade these pumpkins for will be Feast of Blood Shroy, which is a vampire based on its artwork, and because of that, he is going to be a fire demon card. He has a leader skill, but no team skill, so I am gonna go ahead and say that don't worry about building him as a leader, because one, he is free to play, and free to play cards are usually not that powerful, and two, he doesn't have a team skill to compensate or complement his leader skill. But let's take a look at it anyways. Team attack times 7, which is pretty standard. Nowadays, HP and recovery times 1.6. When there are weather runes still, weaken rune stills, frozen or petrified runes, team attack increases times 3 times. 5% attack damage dealt to enemies will be converted to HP recovery to the max of 100% HP. Honestly, not a bad skill. The only thing, so here's the thing, it makes sense from a design standpoint. I really like this card. He's a vampire. You are sucking the life out of your enemies, which is why you have a lifesteal effect on your third leader skill effect. 5% of your attack dealt will be recovered as HP. The other thing is, like, he's not that great of a leader because one, his team attack times 7 is just pretty basic, but his condition for extra additional damage output, it's very, very situational. Weather runes, weaken runes, frozen runes, petrify runes are annoying, yes, but they are not that common anymore. We are encountering more like electrified, we're encountering condensed, we are encountering tornadoes, we have I don't know, lasers, we're encountering I already said electrified. Yeah, lock for recovery. No, and then yeah, lock for recovery. We're also encountering like protected runes, cracked positions, things like that. So weathered, weakened, frozen, and petrified are not that common as they used to be, and this makes it really situational. And the fact that you have a ×3 team attack locked behind this condition makes it a little bit less flexible in your team building. The only way I could see Shroy being used in any team building other than as a member is if he used him as an ally. Since nowadays that your team skill depends on your leader, and a lot of the leaders that are being released only require you to run one leader, and it doesn't matter which ally you're running. So the only time I would see Shroy being used is as an ally, but because his max damage output is locked behind a situational condition that you may not hit in the stage at all, tells me that there are better options for you to choose as an ally. Especially if you don't have any black gold cards, you can take a black gold card from your present list and use that as a leader instead, and typically they have higher multipliers and better leader skills as a base. So honestly, nice collection, very nice artwork, and also lifesteal very fitting to his card design, but as a gameplay standpoint, not that powerful. But then again, he is a free-to-play card, so make sure you get a copy of him. Now, for his active skill, let's see, it's a CD6, clear hypnotized state of the character, change the state of the character from fatigue into hyper. For 1 round, team attack and recovery increases by 1.5, members in hyper state attack and recovery times 1.5 additionally. I mean, honestly, this skill is not that great. Hypnotized, again, is very situational. There are not that many cards that can clear it, so it's very nice to have. But this card only clears Hypnotized on himself. If he cleared Hypnotized for everyone else, that would be a really, really broken card. He also changes the state of the character from fatigue into hyper state, but only for himself. Which, honestly, reading it, it does make sense with his card design because his skill is called Bloody Craze. And in mythology, anime, manga, and things like that, vampires use their blood to enter a enraged state and increase their attributes, and this only affects themselves, right? So that means that it's very fitting to him. But again, in a gameplay standpoint, not that much use because he only affects himself. And the second part, while it sounds nice that you're giving your entire team attack and recovery times 1.5, and also an additional 1.5 attack and recovery to members in a hyper state, there's an issue where your members already have to be in a hyper state. This kind of synergizes well with him creating a hyper state, but it's only for himself. So he can benefit from both attack increases, but the rest of the team will not benefit from the secondary hyper state bonus. And in my opinion, this skill is okay, but it's also really bad. Because yes, you can clear a lot of annoying things, and you could basically force a fatigue state by using a character rune and then make yourself a hyper state, but that's 2 rounds of setup. That's only for this character, and the team attack will only increase by 1.5 times if they're not already in a hyper state. And here's the other thing too. Unless you do the fatigue state thing, the character rune thing to make Shroy enter a fatigue state by himself, typically enemies will also fatigue the entire team. So the fact that if you activate this skill, yes, Shroy will enter a hyper state, but then the rest of your team is still fatigued, so the 1.5 team attack damage doesn't really matter either. So it's kind of bad, and at this point, yeah, I'm just like talking more than I should. This skill is not that good. Still collect him because he's free, and who knows, in the future he might become a good card, but I'm willing to bet that he is not going to be that good. But he's still a free to play card, and you should get it for your collection. But yeah. Oh, we have something. Oh, jailbreakers. Oh, I need to farm the current jailbreaker. Oh, crap. This is a bi-weekly series where we had the water attribute last time. Now we're entering the Wooded Voodoo York, which is going to be the earth attribute bi-weekly jailbreaker card. And this is a earth elf with a CD6 skill and has the following effect. Release the locked skills of the character. Upon successful release, the character enters a hyperstate for 3 rounds. Turn earth into heart, water into earth, and for 3 rounds, the runestones touched while moving will be turned into enchanted runes. Honestly, it's an okay skill, but I feel like there are better cards that you can slot in your teams. Again, same reasoning with Shroy is that cards that have utility are really, really valuable, but only if that utility applies to your entire team. I feel like cards that can release their skills for only themselves are not that great unless they have a super broken effect. And this one is not super broken. And this is because like if the enemy locks your skills, sometimes they lock your skills, sometimes they lock your skills and your attacks. So while your skills are locked, you cannot launch any attacks, which means that the characters that can unlock themselves are the only ones that can deal damage. And this is why you want to run a member that can release the entire team. Or you can bring a member that releases himself but has like a times 12 attack multiplier that can still kill the enemy by himself. In this case, the character only enters a hyperstate, which is a times 2 multiplier, which is not bad but very limited in terms of a burst option. And yeah, the second, third skill are nice in terms of generating attacking runes for an earth leader. And the fourth effect can help you get rid of like mask runes, mask trail, beacon runes, and muck runes. But I think overall the utility is very lacking and there are better cards in the game. Again, if you are lacking in members in your inventory, this is a good card to have because it may come into play in early stages and mid-level stages, but once you reach late game, end game stages, nightmare stages, calamity stages, this card will be replaced by better cards in the game. But yeah, so overall, an okay card. It's a bi-weekly free card, so make sure you get at least 1 copy for your inventory or for your index. But other than that, I feel like you don't really need to spend resources for this card. But yeah, that is the end of this week's GNN news, which means that we are entering a slower phase, which means that next week we might have news about a new jackpot card or more juicy news uh, coming our way. But yeah, just to recap, this week we have a new ultimate stage with Freezing Heat Cynthia. Her skill is pretty unique in which she can choose one out of 2 skills, where both skills do the same thing except with different attributive runes. And CD6 is pretty fast, and the ability to inflict status and snipe will consolidate some of those utilities into a single member, which means that she will be a pretty good member for water teams and potentially fire teams if they can slot her if they can slot a water card. We also have a new event, which is going to be similar to the skewer collecting event. You gain 1 pumpkin for every point of stamina used, and you can use those pumpkins to redeem new characters and rewards from the shop. The new character this time will be Feast of Blood Troy, which, in my opinion, his leader skill is pretty weak, and his active skill is also pretty weak as well. We also have the new Jailbreaker series card, which is a bi-weekly card, an Earth Elf, which active skill also on the weaker side, uh, and can be replaced by other cards in the game. And in my opinion, don't spend resources on them and just get them for your index. But that's all for this week's GNN news. I hope you enjoyed this installment of my blind reactions to the GNN news. And as always, let me know in the comments if I said anything wrong or if I missed out on any details from this week's news. As always, I post regular content on YouTube, as well, such as clear videos, GNN reviews, and potentially guides in the future now that I have more time on my hands. And so yeah, let me know what type of content you want to see. And for now, stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye everyone.